Thank you for that. Technology is beyond me. Okay, where were we? Did anybody else want to ask something or share something? Hello.
We're still getting a bit restless. God, it's really...
Let's take a moment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a bit strange. Over the last, ever since I've had that scene of the oneness and everything, it's just not, all the stuff I've heard about enlightenment has not happened. All the myths about it, I always have these ideas that this would happen, that would happen, and now that's happened since I've had this scene, and it's like I'm really lost now, because every day I see the scene every day, and I'm totally getting all this stuff coming up every day.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what's going on? You're right, So the ego's still there. I'm not feeling myself that I'm still not totally awake. Although I seem to be able to have that knowledge of it's all one.
Yeah,
which is
it
quite
hasn't
nice.
gone fully deep.
So it's
yet.
getting really confusing now, what's going on, like, I'm getting this oneness, but I'm not living like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I keep reading this stuff in about all the past can still carry on, and then seeing this oneness. And
It's really up to you how far you want to go with it, but I'm assuming because you sat in this chair, you want to.
Yeah, it's. I can see that I'm not living it, and like keeps showing me that all the time now.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've got a choice now.
Yeah.
Carry on the old ways, or be grateful that I've had this scene and start to live it a little bit more.
It seems like a choice, but sometimes it's not, is it? Because it's quite painful to live from that old way when you've really seen what you actually are. That there is just that one being, It's like
I'm getting that, but I find it very addictive as well.
What, the ego?
The old ways of living very addictive. I can't let it go. That's what's crazy about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's got something about it. I've been living that way for so long. So suffering that's caused that separation, and the immense pain and suffering and paranoia that's caused me.
Yeah.
Over the years, because I went really deep in that separation, it was really quite bad. Almost it got me totally insane at my time. You know what I mean? That's how bad it got.
I remember that feeling.
The fear I've been through that separation has been immense. And now last give me a chance. It's like I want to go back to that separation. It's crazy.
Yeah.
When you're in separation, you want to come to wholeness, and when you get this wholeness, you want to go back to separation. You want to go back to separation.
So I'd like to just challenge that a minute. To see that there's only one, and then we go back to this experience where there's just there's what we know to be true here and what we're living as. So there's two states there, isn't there? How I know I actually am, what I know I actually am, I think just the one and not a separate being. And then how I'm living, which is from this old egoic sense of self, that's still functioning, this software program that's going on inside us. So if there's two states there, then that needs to be replaced by living as that one, as you said. That's and you can't bring two things into one, can you? You can't take two things and make them into one. It just doesn't work. And yet we're all trying to do that. Or we're trying to get rid of one, and which is usually the egoic perspective, my sense of being a separate someone, and then keep this one, the nice peaceful view of being just the one. So if there is only one, then both of these viewpoints must be the same thing, right? Different way of looking at it. What it looks like when I think I'm a separate being, all of this out here, must be the same somehow as what I saw in my deepest seeing, what you saw, that you are that one. So instead of trying to get rid of one of them, if they are the same, then trying to get rid of one of them isn't going to work, is it? Can you see that? Do you want me to go through that again?
Yeah, I can see contradiction, but there's still that separation going on.
So instead, can I ask you to do something else instead? It's ask the question, how are they the same? How is what I've seen in my deepest, truest the same as how I'm living from the egoic perspective? Totally contradictory to what you're trying to do at the moment, which is trying to get rid of the ego completely. But because we've all heard that there's this place where we can live where there's just the one, and there isn't really any sense of ego left at all. So we all assume that by getting rid of the ego, that's how to get there.
No, I'm not into that anymore. I don't think there's nothing sort of perfect or amazing place, and it's different for all of us. You know, because the fear has gone down a lot, so I am seeing something, because I can go out there now, the separation, now that's gone, it's all me. So level, I feel safer outside now. I look at the front bar, people playing more, now it's so immense. That used to get to me now to get me. But, and that's been shown me that, because I believe that's what's been, it's an actuality. So that's changed.
So what do you want then?
I think it's just, I don't know, this is it now, it's getting really, this is where my starts getting, it's like, well, I can see it all in right now. You know?
If we're still suffering though, on any level, that's where we have to be honest, isn't it? And
then I get all these ideas that I've had all this stuff that's about traumas and childhood. I do like, that it sounds as though of integration, and I don't think that's true. So I'm thinking maybe that's to carry on until it isn't now. So
it will, even though you've seen the one, you can always see it more. You can always see it more. I know it seems paradoxical. I've seen that there's only me. I've seen that there really aren't any other beings. I've really seen that.
Yeah, I see that's a root of suffering. I can see that now. That's the root of it. If there's evil, that's where it comes from. That's separation. It's simple as that. You become a separate person to something else. Yeah. So you need to go deeper into seeing the one, to where the idea that there was ever two disappears. To where this other person is, or this other thing, it's just, you've got no capacity inside to believe the thought anymore, because you've gone so deeply into the one. I'm still believing the thoughts. Speaking earlier on, I'm still clinging to beliefs, and especially about money and abundance and things like that. Yeah. I'm still going on as if I'm a separate person, which is. So all that means is, and it's normal for a while, as you said, it happens to us all. We have a seeing, and because that seeing feels so total and complete, it feels so wow that it can't get any better than that. I've seen it, I've understood it. There's a tendency to think that's it. It can't get any better than that. But then some old thinkingness will arise within us to say, well, actually, this program's still running my life as a separate being. All that means is deeper to go inside. There's more confirmation needed. What that means is to actually look and experience what you actually are, that formlessness, to really search your being, not find any separate entity again and again and again. So that every time your mind talks about you as a separate being, there's less and less ability to pick it up, to grab a hold of it. Now it's happening slowly because of your love for the one. The deepest self-inquiry is really in this particular period after you've had a seeing. If you can never assume that you've seen it all, which sounds paradoxical, because each seeing feels like I've seen it all. Wow, that's, it just revealed itself to me, and it's completely perfect and whole and just the one. The moment you ask the question, is there more to see? And I don't mean more as in, sort of more up here, just could it go deeper inside? You'll begin to feel, your perspective begin to get quieter, but not because you're getting rid of it. Going deeper into that place where the ego never really existed. That's the only place where it will go forever. Where you're so sure that you are the indivisible one,
and that there never was two or billions of human beings. And it's not a difficult thing to do, it's just a labour of love in the end. I love seeing what I am, and I want to see it again and again and again. And this is like going to be the antidote to all this egoic thinking that's going on. Because even when you've seen the one, mind will take it and use it, won't it? Ah, right, now we can, yeah, you know, we're going to start and we can make a wonderful life with this, you know.
Because this is something you don't hear much about, usually about people's waking up, but you don't hear much about afterwards. There's not much out there about that, you know, and that's why I still come here to try and, you know, what would people say? Because it's very mysterious about this afterwards when you've seen it, and then it's like, you've got a unknown place there.
Most of the time I spend talking about this stage, because you can actually see what you are relatively easily in a moment of openness, and then...
No, that's the reason like that. It's this... Yeah, carries on this. That's where it's a bit... That's where it seems to be by itself, and it's a bit mysterious. And
it just has to keep going deeper. You have to keep seeing and keep seeing and keep seeing. Every time you want to look again at the one, you're forgetting how to imagine two. Every time. You know, so as in the self and the ego. You know, the new way of looking at myself and the old way. When you actually look at what you are and experience it, there isn't self and ego, there's only you, just the one in there. So it'll eradicate this tendency to think of yourself in two different ways. It's actually the ability to imagine a division that's causing the suffering, not the ego itself. To think that ego is different to the self, or that there actually are two ways of being. Can you get a sense of that? So if you experience right now what you actually are, if you really look in this moment, there's only you, isn't there? There's not you plus ego. If you really look, there's just the one.
oh yeah, no, yeah. So yeah.
So it can be known more, it can be known deeper. It has to go deeper, 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 deeper.
Whatever that means.
Yeah, you can't really go deeper when there's only you, but that's experientially how it is. And you know when you can stop inquiring is when there's no more sense of division, no more suffering at all. If you want to go that far, you know, no more negative emotions, no more division. It's a sense of division within yourself that you don't, that causes the sense of, you know, that sort of spiritual pain.
I saw a lot of fear, you know, about I'm doing a job I don't really like doing, and it's like I want to put that in and we want to get the money, and so all this stuff being played out, you know, like. So it's like, well, maybe what if I'm this oneness, it can't hurt me. Yeah, why? So sure it can't starve me to death. So it shows you I'm not really what I'm seeing.
You have to be so sure that you're everywhere, that the idea that you were ever just somewhere becomes completely unbelievable.
So sometimes I still can't trust it, especially
can't
abundance, this oneness. So one level I know it can't hurt me because I am it, that I can't hurt itself. At the same time, it feels like I could be like, we'll go without money, or if I could job in, I could end up starving. That's still been played out. But if so that's not much into that. So the sentiment's still not, it's not deep enough in the same.
Yeah, it's just to go more, and it is common because after you have a seeing, then eventually the urge comes to want to live like that. At first we're happy with seeing it, and then the urge like that all the time.
So what's happening here is quite common.
That urges arise. It happens to everyone. Every now and again there's some.
Seeing, then all starts happening afterwards.
And it's you know, I think Christ said, first you seek and then you'll find, and then you'll be greatly disturbed, and then you'll find peace. But it doesn't have to be great disturbance if you're using everything that comes to you, every egoic pattern that arises, you can use that and say, well, is that true now from what I've seen? Is this happening to me? Am I being affected by this even? And it becomes more and more joyful to reconfirm and confirm and confirm, because you can never get to the end of more peace, more seeing, more clarity, more happiness, more knowledge, space inside your being. And you're either energizing these thoughts from the ego, or you're being the one. And there's nothing in between at this stage. Well, there never really was, but it's very apparent now, isn't it? Having this sort of dualistic experience. At times I'm just peaceful, and then all of a sudden all this stuff comes back up, and just remember me, So it's just that it needs to be taken deeper inside. Just to even not to assume I have seen it all. Which sounds
my mind gets all of that a bit. I go around thinking about it some days. I get it and I remember it. I can see it again. So anyway, when I get tested, that comes back again. It's back up again.
So you have to go deeper inside the one, remembering and forgetting what you are or happening in your mind, not to you.
Yeah.
You're not the one that's remembering or forgetting. And you can experience that right now. You're checking what you really are. It's not remembering or forgetting, is it? All that happens is we pick up some identity. I'm the one that's waking up. I'm the one that's getting there. I'm the one that's almost there. I'm the one that's getting rid of ego. All of that is kind of a subtle identity. You go deeper and see, is there a place where I'm completely immune to anything, any division, any suffering, any upset? Even just asking that question from an open place, you begin to experience it immediately. It is kind of its own subtle trap sometimes, because the seeing that we have is so complete. It feels true, it feels whole, it feels like we've arrived. But then to live it, this other stuff must come up, and we must choose peace in that moment when this other stuff comes up. Choose the one when it's easy to go the other way, when it's habitual to go the other way. It's enough to look and inquire in those moments, to actually search your being and not find a separate sense of you again and again and again and again. And when you're doing it for one egoic pattern, you're doing it simultaneously for all of them. This is why it gets faster and faster then, that all this just falls away, all this ability to suffer. Which is happening for you, but you'd like to speed it up a bit, from what you're saying.
Yeah, because it's that suffering, and that's it's perfect. Suffering makes me keep looking at it all the time, after duration. So it carries on now. So
if it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's just all right. A little bit more confirmation needed, a little bit deeper seeing needed. That I want the oneness to not be an experience. I want it to be a permanent, knowing, living as that. That's all. The stuff arises. It gives us the drive to go to a place where we're living from that completely, rather than just sort of in and out of it, seemingly in our experience. Simplest answer, which doesn't satisfy the mind, but look again. No matter how convinced you are you've seen yourself, look again, look again, look again. Fall in love with looking again. Each time you look, you'll experience it deeper, more profoundly, more complete. How can it be more complete? Who knows? Who knows how it pulls that off, but it does. How can it be more peaceful? How can it be more whole? How can it be more clear? But it is. Every time I look now, it's even better. It never stops getting better, even after all this time. Because I never assume that I've seen it all, that there's nothing else to see. Never. Even though it feels very complete and perfect. There's kind of just you stay open then. You don't close up thinking I've seen it now. Because if you've seen it now and I'm going to go try and get rid of my ego, you haven't really seen it fully, not as fully as can be. Or I've seen it now, but I'd like my mind to shut up. Haven't really fully seen it. Just to go deeper is really all that's needed.
Yeah, I don't try and get rid of the ego really. Don't think past that stage, and I can do what he wants to do now.
If that were really true, you wouldn't be asking this question.
Maybe not.
Sorry, but I have to kind of point that out. I know I'm annoying like that.
Yeah.
If that were really true, you wouldn't be in Satsang, would you? You'd
No.
be happy as you are.
Yeah, that's what's going on.
A taste of the one is addictive, isn't it? We want it all the time then, you see. So, and that's natural. It's natural that after you've seen it, you won't want any division within you at all.
Not be free from fear.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's what we're free from. More than, maybe more than ego. But
ego is fear, really, isn't it?
Fear.
Ego really is fear in its most basic essence.
Fear that gives to wake up, because the fear is just unbearable.
Yeah.
You know, it
was the same for me. I was so tired of being terrified of everything. It was the same. It drove me. It made me look again and again and again. And then one day I realized I just hadn't felt anything negative in a very long time. Never really realized when it stopped. But when I tried to see if I could feel that again, it just didn't happen. But at that point I was so totally in love with looking again, seeing again. Every time I look, it's revealed to be deeper. Paradoxical, isn't it? How can it reveal itself ever deeper if it's the only thing that is and the only thing that ever was and will be? But your mind and body can always experience this deeper. Keep looking until it's saturated every cell. It's stamped itself on your DNA completely. That'll be enough then.
Does that mean still level? I'm more relaxed when I'm out now, obviously, because now I'm not going to keep getting attacked, because I was causing that myself in separation. I kept thinking that it was so fearful and people scared, and I was creating that reality because I was thinking that they weren't doing it, I was doing it. It was me on this anyway. I realise that now, yeah. And it's only safe out there if I've got no fear of me.
Yeah.
If I've got there and starts to fear of me, then that's when trouble starts. And so I've seen that bit. So that's really thing. I can actually. So
don't stop until all of your outside world, your reflection, is like that, peaceful, until you feel the same all the time. Peace that can't be broken.
I do get that.
Say again?
It's sort of like, I don't know what happens when you sort of go out there and sort of person that's a bit scary, you know, does it get you a bit more record? Because I sometimes still get that because I'm in that sort of job, you know, in public, and it's like, I'm okay then until I see somebody that's like a memory, past memory. I can see somebody who's in separation and could, you know, it's like when I start to really think I've got to, that person's me, and if he ignores them.
So what you want is not even for that to arise in the first place, to be so convinced of the one, conviction. That's fine, that's normal. It's normal.
But I don't believe people like that.
Every time you look and confirm again, you'll be less and less able to suffer. But it'll also arise within you a less diminishing ability to tolerate any suffering at all. You know, it's got its own inbuilt drive to complete oneness, isn't it? And that's all that's happening. It's
very simple, isn't it? It's very simple.
Totally.
Why does it have to have the defense systems, or does it so?
Find out if it really does.
Does it need to think it might have to protect itself?
Nope. Just more seeing needed, that's all.
Yeah.
Never assume that you've got to the end. It's the greatest thing I can tell you. Never assume. Even though mind's constantly looking for the finish line. You know, you don't just be this living question mark. What is it to be the one? What does it mean to be me? You know, that live like that and see what happens. See if you can suffer like that at all.
So you're suffering 3 kinds of fear.
Yep.
That's the next ones.
Yep. Yeah. It can be a very lived, real experience, but it only comes from enough confirmation.
Yes, you've got to keep checking every day. I've got to keep checking and questioning beliefs and thoughts everything on now. So that's advise it. It doesn't much advancing.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Right.
More, deeper.
Yeah.
Not from the egoic trying to grab, just it's a flower that's opening, isn't it? The truth is revealing itself. You've got to be open, let that reveal itself to you in your stillness.
Yeah.
It's going to come from the inside out now. Yeah. Fantastic.
Right.
Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else like to share or ask? Yeah.
I'm not sure how this question is going to come out. So I've had this realization, and then over a process of time, I've realized that's what I am. But initially, I was asking this question: how do I live from that space? And I also used to ask this question: where is this all going? It doesn't seem to be going anywhere. And things like things keep dropping off. Things like things I thought I absolutely needed.
It's funny what drops away, isn't it?
Things like purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh, egoic purpose has dropped away, and some other purpose is going to come forward, but it never did. I don't really feel I've got a purpose. No.
Yeah.
There's no purpose. There's just one moment to the next moment. And I heard, I read somewhere recently, you can't ever be busy because you're only ever doing
Nothing.
Nothing or doing what you're doing. That's how can you be busy? You can only do one thing at a time. All the rest of it was thinking.
Yeah.
So I've got no purpose, and
it's a strange thing to have no purpose, isn't it?
It was.
It's a different experience.
It was weird, but I've got used to weird in a lot of ways.
Weird is a new normal, by the way.
Yeah, I think weird is definitely a new normal. And, so there's no purpose, and
is there any meaning?
There's no meaning either.
No meaning either.
No.
Any future?
No.
Any past?
No.
Any present?
No.
Any goals?
No. But that when it first happened to me in 2011, that first question I had, how this is it. This is definitely it. There's no question about it. But how do you live from that space? And I felt a bit schizophrenic for a long time.
Yeah.
And the answer's not appeared. How do you live from this space? It was the ego that was asking that question.
The question disappears, yeah.
Or
it melts back into the one.
There's no answer. The question disappears, and it seems to me that whatever's left of ego, because first there was just the disidentification of ego, and now there seems to be this dissolving of ego into the space, and all I can say is, well, I'm just going to become the space. Oh, that's how it seems.
You live as that space rather than sort of being the divided the space and the ego. Less and less is it like that.
Yeah, the problem I had was I couldn't imagine what that kind of life would be like.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine how that would work, which is the kind of questions your ego asks. How do you do it? How does it work?
What's going to move me afterwards? What's going to drive my life afterwards? What's going to motivate me?
And initially I felt defenseless. How can you live undefended? Especially in grassroots.
I'm not going into that, but I know what you mean.
But yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's no meaning, there's no purpose. I'm not going anywhere. And the answer to that question never appeared, never came. No, like, how do you live from the space? It just, I think the answer is just surrender, and then whatever's left of ego, because it just feels like ropes snapping, you know, bing, 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 and then whatever's left of ego merges into this space, and you become the space, and that's how it seems from the ego's point of view. Because I've got past that. Oh my God, I'm going to merge this. I'm going to die, you know. And that's terrible. And I just think, you know.
If your identity has shifted to being the one, if you know that you are the one, you're not going to fear this dissolution, because you'll see, I was never that.
Yeah,
I wasn't really.
Yeah.
If you're still identifying as ego, then it's terrifying in that stage.
I've got past the fear of dissolving. But then I realised that it only appears that I'm dissolving because I was always this space anyway.
Yep.
So then it occurred to me that that nothing's ever happened in my life.
So what's actually happening then?
Nothing's happening.
Nothing.
And
you realise, you have this embarrassing moment where you realise I made the whole waking up journey up, right?
Yeah.
I made the whole thing up.
Yeah, but then it's just getting beyond weird. That is weird to, you know, weird plus one, that is.
To live from that place where nothing has ever happened, where there never was a separate being, and it never had to dissolve, etc., and all of that is different. It's wonderful.
It's having effects on my life that I didn't anticipate, and I can't explain. I've got 2 degrees. I've got a PGC.
No idea what that is. PGC.
I'm a professional teacher, and all that. And I'm delivering shopping for a living, you know, and but it's perfectly fine. And I think things haven't completely stopped, but the way I think is what I feel is it is going to stop. And I have a feeling that the soul, the being, the true self, whatever you call it, it knows what it's doing. But we've got past the panic of the ego, and it's just there's a certain defeat and an inevitability about. But I occasionally ask, what's going on and how did this happen? And I want to speak to the manager. But only occasionally, and usually physically the whole thing was quite tough. I've developed allergies, physical allergies that I didn't have before. I don't know why. Food, what we eat now is completely different, and it's not through trying. It's just happened quite naturally. So if I am a chrysalis, am I becoming a butterfly? Or have I actually gone nuts? I don't know. But I know also that caterpillars, they don't hang out with butterflies. They don't really understand each other. You know, so. It's
more like you're the caterpillar and the chrysalis and the butterfly.
Yeah, I'm not quite there yet. But that doesn't frighten me. But I don't think.
But it's just naturally, it's coming. It's going to come, isn't it? That knowing, that's it. Yeah. Something's just dissolving away in that piece, as you said. You know, that the part of us that is always trying to find security and purpose and you know, all these things that we need. All of that is just sort of melting away, and then there's just life moving.
Well, that's why I know that this is important and real, because I can't deny the peace. Can't deny it. It is there. The proof's in the pudding, and it's definitely there. And that's it. I mean, I could quite happily sit down quietly, stare out the window for a couple of hours, and feel peaceful. But a mental health professional would look at you and think, that's psychosis. You're psychotic. You know, the psychotic break from reality.
Looking from the outside is very little difference, but from the inside there's a lot of difference.
Well, then it occurs to me that because the majority of people are living from the ego, everybody's insane, everybody's mad, and they're all telling people who've had this experience that they're mad.
Yeah.
Which is mad.
It is a bit.
Yeah. So, but no. I don't know if I'm turning it into a very dull, boring, uninteresting blog, So
that sits and stares out a window.
That's it. So,
as long as the piece is growing, then you're on the right track.
Deepening, that kind of language I use, thickening, deepening.
Much
but
more.
on its own, I'm not. There was this thing like 6 months ago. How can I facilitate it? How can I push it? Because I was that guy. I'm going to push it. I'm going to get there. And,
Olympic seeking. I'm going to do
it. Yeah.
This is a gold medal in spiritual seeking. I'm going to get it.
Take the pain. But it seems to be happening organically and naturally.
And it's more of a realization, it always was. All of my shoving and trying to get there just didn't really do anything. It happened by itself in the end. Just the willingness to see it, and that all of the rest of that will fall away. And then as there's just all this peace inside space, and less and less, even if there is any sort of egoic fragments left, you're not really bothered about them. Then the motivation of the true self can kind of move through, which is it wants to expand in the manifestation, and it wants to experience more in a manifestation.
I think I passed the fear thing, which was a big thing. I passed the fear, and it seems to be expanding on its own by itself. I don't think I could stop it now if I wanted to. I couldn't try. I couldn't. When you said it, use that word forgetting earlier on, that's how I described it in 2011. It first happened to me. It says, this feels like forgetting everything, which at the time brought on a lot of fear. But there was real worries about, at the time, how to function if you can't remember things.
It's very, very common,
Yeah.
Because the ego, we all think this separate sense of me has been running the show, driving my life. And then when that's gone, well, how am I going to function? Why am I going to get out of bed in the morning? And all that stuff seems a real concern. Like, can you live without any purpose or meaning in your life? It sounds almost suicidal, doesn't it, to the mind's perspective? But afterwards, you kind of see none of that was ever running the show. It's always been the true self, the awareness, showing up like all of this, and what I've called my life is just how it flowed in this body, through this body. So there's a relaxation then, isn't there, to just letting it go, stop trying to drive.
But I think originally when I lost that's the practical worries about how this works. But when the ideas go and the concepts go, that's the ground you're standing on. And suddenly you feel like you're not standing on any solid ground.
You don't fall down.
You're not standing on anything. But initially there's a big panic.
Yeah. What happens when I have no concepts to reference myself anymore? What happens when I put down all concepts? Something inside goes, you'll fall, but when you actually do it.
You saw your pants first. That's what you do.
Yeah, it's having no self-definition, no self-reference.
Yeah.
Not even to say I am the self. To forget that as well. Just complete emptiness.
So now I have a sense. I realized it was an illusion that I thought I knew where I thought I might end up.
That's the last bit of the dream, isn't it?
Yeah, the illusion of control. Now I have absolutely no idea where I'm going, or where I'll end up, or what I'll end up doing. Honestly, not a clue.
And is that a negative thing?
It's just a statement. There's no fear in it. It's not a negative statement. It's not a positive statement. It's just a statement. And when I thought I knew who I was, I thought I knew where I was going. But now that I kind of got a good sense of what I am, I have no idea.
It's the simplest state of all, isn't it? To have no idea about anything.
No, yeah.
At all, ever.
Yeah.
Ever again.
Yeah, that must be something like freedom. And it never...
something like it is freedom.
Well, yeah, but I never imagined it. Experientially, I never thought it'd be like that.
Yeah.
I never thought... Because the ego's got an idea of freedom, which is, 4 Ferraris and...
When I know what I
60
am,
homes
when
and,
I know,
when
I really know what I am, I'll be at peace.
Yeah.
But that's like, it's seen that at the end, that's an intermediary stage. At first, I'm sure I'm a human being, then I'm sure I'm the self, and then I forget all of that. That's the ultimate way to live, isn't it? And as that goes on, something inside is freaking out, going, hang on a minute, you've done all this work to remember what you are, and now you're just going to forget it,
Yeah, because the person who I used to be went through a lot, been through a lot of stuff, and it was very tough, survived, and all that blood, sweat and tears, and all the people I had relationships with and loved and was close to, all of that went along, you see. So, you see, I'm going to say something, I've forgotten what it was, so let's just, do that sometimes. I'll start talking and then I'll just forget. I rang my sister the other day and I forgot. Why would you?
And you're kind of just waiting for that knowledge to come up in that empty space of what you were going to say.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah. Anyway, that's it.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you. Right, we shall leave it there for today. Thank you. Namaste. Namaste.